what's a common myth with the kicker? Well, the first one that I made a list of five, I think 5 myths. There's probably more, but just for the sake of a short essay, I think I made 5. But kicker, most people think that you got to wait really long to teach the kicker. So you got to wait till a kid is like 14 or 15. That's sort of the common advice, that you're going to avoid doing the kicker when a kid is young, and then you're slowly going to get into it later when they're quote unquote stronger. And what can I say? I don't think that's necessary. I think you can teach a kicker very young. You can do it, I don't know, as young as probably 7, 8, 9. It's not going to be a great kicker at that age because the kids are little, and you have to be very careful with how you teach it. So you have to teach it and watch out for some of the pitfalls that some kids fall into, like extreme arching their back. We'll talk about back arch a little bit, but extreme tosses to the left, extreme arching of the back, overuse. What else? Some kids are very abrupt. They're not very fluid with their motions, and those are some of the typical things you see. Over serving, like serving too many in a row, like too much practice, overarching the back. That can be bad for the back, and sometimes if you're reaching too far to the left, can be bad for the shoulder. Also, the toss location. If the toss location is off, it can be bad for the shoulder. Biomechanically, if the toss is behind the player too much, like towards the back fence, it can put more stress on the shoulder. So there's definitely some pitfalls to look out for. But if you're knowledgeable, if you know what you're looking for, you can definitely teach the kick at a very young age. I would say you can start the brushing action at 7 or 8, and you can start to get a pretty decent topspin serve at between 8, 9, and 10. For most athletic kids, I work with a lot of athletic, high-performance kids, so I'm not talking about your everyday club player. My focus is high-performance junior development, so that's sort of the lens that I see things through. But typically, you can get a pretty good spinner under 10. And it's not going to be a huge kick. It's going to be sort of a topspin roll. The RPMs aren't going to be crazy. But it's going to have a nice loop on it, and it's going to kick up a little bit on the opponent's shoulder. You're going to have to wait till later when the kid is stronger to get the big kicker or the heavy RPM and more of that twisting action left to right. But I think it's better, in my opinion, better to get the mechanics done right under 10, especially under 12. Get the kick serve right, do it in a safe way, be responsible, and don't over serve, don't over practice the kick serve where you go out and do like 3 or 4 big baskets or something. Be very careful with the little shoulders, be careful with the little kid's back, and make sure you're arching in the right way. That leads me to another myth, that there's no back arch. There is a significant back arch, but it's the upper back. It's not the lower back. So the danger on the kick serve is the lower back arch, which is called lumbar extension. So you don't want to hyperextend the lumbar area, the lower spine. That part should be straight, almost completely straight, and it should be secure. And as you go up the spine, the thoracic spine has more mobility. You can extend there, and you can really extend the cervical spine, which is the neck. So what you're looking for is a really big arch in the neck and an arch in the upper back to open the chest, because that's a key part of the technique of the kick serve, is opening up the chest to the ball. And then you want to keep the lower part of the back secure. And I never hear coaches or quote-unquote experts talking about this. It's been a frustrating journey for me for years. I've been to many, many high-performance conferences, and you always hear that the back is straight, blah, blah, blah. And when you look at high-speed video, you see that there's a clear curvature in the upper back. And I remember one conference I was taking a course with Mark Kovacs, and he was talking to the same shuck and jive, and I got so frustrated. The whole room was looking at the same picture, and there was clearly a thoracic extension. There was a big upper back arch, and the chest was open to the ball, which every kick serve looks like that. Where the chest is open to the ball, the neck was really hyperextended. The neck is really arched backward, And I just raised my hand. I said, Mark, there's clearly a back arch there. Everyone can see it on the video or on the film. We were watching some clips, and it was like probably 50 coaches in the room, and all of them were just looking dumbfounded at the same thing. And Mark finally, he goes, you know what? You must be talking about thoracic extension. And I said, yeah. And at the time, I didn't know what thoracic extension was. This is many years ago. It's probably over 10 years ago. And I was like, that's a good term for it. Okay, let's call it that. The upper back, whatever you want to call it, the upper back is extending and the chest is opening up. And that's thoracic extension. That's the first time I heard that word. It takes me back to that room that I was, to that lecture room, and we were all watching the video together. And Mark Kovac said, yeah, thoracic extension. You must be looking at thoracic extension. Well, I said, whatever you want to call it, Mark, that's clearly a back arch, right? So my point is, when you're teaching this thing, if you want to teach it well, you got to teach the kids how to open up their chest. You got to teach them cervical spine, C-spine extension. And that's going to get their face up to the bottom of the ball. And then, you're going to have a much easier time getting the kicker that way than if you tell the kids, okay, everything's got to be straight, and oh, by the way, you can't toss to the left. That makes it even doubly difficult to learn a kick serve. So you have a lot of little kids, and the coaches are well-meaning, the parents are well-meaning, they want to prevent injury, right? So they tell the kids, okay, be really careful, keep your back straight.